everybody, and we're live. Happy I Read Canadian Day. Can you imagine, Leigh, last year, even at this time, that on I Read Canadian Day, you and I would be here reading our children's book together?
I know, it's so exciting. Honestly, it makes me smile every time I see the cover.
Me too.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
So we should probably begin with introductions. I'll start. My name is Jennifer Casa-Todd. I'm a teacher librarian in Ontario, Canada, in Aurora. And I'm also the author of Social Media and an upcoming book called Raising Digital Leaders. But this has been my passion project, co-authoring my first children's book. I'm also a Google Innovator, a GEG Ontario leader, and was thrilled to have been honored the ISTE Digital Citizenship PLN Award for 2020.
That's so amazing. I never get tired of hearing that. So I want to celebrate you just for a second. When is your new book coming out, by the way? Just, since we're here.
In the next month.
So exciting. I can't wait. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be, if you're watching and you haven't read Social Media, it is a must read. So do pick up your copy. I'm so excited to be here too, Jen. This is just so amazing. It is hard to believe that a year ago, it's over a year ago now, we started this adventure together. And I do, as you mentioned earlier before we went live, how much we wish Sahar could be here with us. So I'll let you introduce her once I'm done. But our illustrator, without whom this book would not have been possible. We're missing her right now. So Sahar, if you're watching, we're sending you love. My name is Leigh Cassell. I'm an educator, a self-proclaimed adventurer and entrepreneur. I'm currently teaching kindergarten with the Avon-Maitland District School Board. I also work as an education and innovation consultant. And in my spare time, I'm founder and CCO at Digital Human Library, where we connect students to a whole world of learning through the wonderful people that make up this beautiful world that we live in. I've received the highest level of awards from the Ontario Public School Board Association, the Ontario Library Association, and the Ontario Teachers Federation for my innovation in education. And I've also been recognized internationally by Apple, Microsoft, and Google. So this is our space, Jen, and I'm just so thrilled to be here to sharing a story and really a message. Right, for us, it comes down to the important message, and which we'll get to, of course, as we wrap up our read aloud. But I do want to start there.
Absolutely. And I'm just so in awe of all that you do. So this has been an incredible journey to co-author with you for sure. Awesome. And as Leigh just mentioned, Sahar is unable to make it. She's a student and she's currently in class. But when you start to see the beautiful illustrations in this book, and really her voice shines in them, it's just amazing. We met at school. She's a former student of mine, always had the dream of illustrating a book. And so when Leigh and I talked about writing a book, Sahar came to mind, and it was just serendipitous. Let's just put it that way. Yes.
Yep. The stars aligned.
They did. So let's get started. I'm excited to be able to, I think this is our first official virtual read aloud together. So what we've done is we've taken those beautiful illustrations, and then that way, when we're telling the story, you'll be able to see them on the screen. We wouldn't want you to miss out on that opportunity. And we are going to get started with reading. Okay, here we go. Aubrey Bright opened her eyes to the sun shining through her window and her mom calling, "Aubrey, are you up? Grandma's expecting you this morning." "Yes, Mom, I'll be right down," Aubrey replied. "Yippee! Today I get to visit Grandma. I love listening to Grandma's stories," Aubrey thought excitedly. All right, I knew that was going to happen. When Aubrey arrived at Grandma's house, she ran to find Grandma sitting in her favorite spot on the couch. "Hi, Grandma. Look at the new background on my tablet. It's a beach," Aubrey announced. "Hi, Aubrey, dear." "Oh, it's lovely," Grandma agreed. "Now put your tablet away and come snuggle up next to me." Grandma, will you please tell me a story? Aubrey pleaded. Of course, dear. Your new tablet background reminded me of a special day when I was your age. Did I ever tell you about the time my best friend and I found a sand dollar at the beach? Grandma asked. Aubrey shook her head. No, tell me. A long time ago, my best friend, B. Adler, and I went to the beach almost every weekend. Grandma began, but this particular weekend was going to be our last weekend together because B was moving away. The day before we were headed to the beach, B gave me a photo album and suggested we use my camera to fill the album with our memories. Grandma reminisced. But on the morning we were leaving, I couldn't find my camera anywhere, Grandma continued. I looked under my bed. I looked in my drawers. I looked in my closet. I looked and looked, but it was nowhere to be found. Grandma sighed. Ugh, that's terrible, Grandma, Aubrey agreed. Yes, I was so upset, Grandma said as she squeezed Aubrey's hand. On the way to the beach, I remember feeling like I had let B down, Grandma admitted. But B reminded me that what matters most are the stories that connect us. Grandma paused for a minute as though lost in thought, and then continued. Once we arrived at the beach, my disappointment was washed away as we dipped our toes into the cool blue ocean.
Aubrey snuggled in closer as Grandma continued. I remember feeling the hot sun against my face and the soft, warm sand beneath my toes. And I remember listening to the gentle roll of the waves wash up against the shore. Grandma paused, her eyes twinkling. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw a sand dollar peeking out from under the sand, Grandma exclaimed. I squealed with delight, grabbed Bee's hand, and we ran over to take a closer look. We had never seen one before. I haven't seen a sand dollar before either, Grandma, Aubrey said. Grandma put her arm around Aubrey, smiled, and continued. Bee gently picked up the sand dollar. We took turns touching the smooth surface and fingering the star design. Bee and I cradled it in our hands and wrapped it carefully in a towel. We believed the sand dollar was a sign that our friendship was special and would last forever. The next day, before Bee left, Grandma explained, we had to make a very difficult decision about who would keep the sand dollar. Who got to keep it? Aubrey asked. Grandma laughed. We both did. We decided to break it in half. And imagine our surprise when 5 little dove-shaped pieces fluttered into my hands. Aubrey's eyes widened with curiosity. Since there were 5 doves, we agreed that we would each keep 2 and take turns caring for the 5th, mailing it back and forth to each other every year. We promised we would cherish them forever. Do you still have them? Can I see them? Aubrey asked. I sure do. Why don't you be a dear and go and find the small wooden box inside my top drawer of my dresser, Grandma replied. Aubrey retrieved the box and rushed back to her place next to Grandma. Aubrey was filled with wonder and curiosity as Grandma slowly opened the lid. Grandma, Aubrey gasped, they're so beautiful. And you have the 5th dove. Aubrey and Grandma sat in silence for a moment until Aubrey asked, whatever happened to Bee, Grandma? I've never heard you talk about her. Sadly, Grandma sighed, I don't know. I lost touch with Beatrice Adler several years ago. I do wonder if she has her doves. Grandma's voice trailed off. But Grandma, if you miss her, why don't you look for her online? You could call her on your tablet like I taught you to do with me, Aubrey suggested. Grandma smiled. That sounds lovely, dear. Maybe someday.
On Aubrey's way home from Grandma's house, Aubrey couldn't stop thinking about Grandma's story. I want to go to the beach, she thought, and maybe even find a sand dollar. Aubrey arrived home and burst through the door. Mom, will you take me and my friend Maya to the beach tomorrow? Please, Mom, please, Aubrey pleaded. Let me guess. Grandma's story was about a beach today, she said, smiling. Aubrey nodded. Grandma told me a story about her best friend, Bee. Grandma misses her. Do you think we could help find her? It's possible, replied Aubrey's mom. Let's do some digging. Why don't you go and call Maya and see if a beach day is okay with her mom? Aubrey's words spilled out excitedly before Maya even had a chance to say hello. Maya, want to go to the beach with me tomorrow afternoon? We can build sandcastles and swim and maybe look for a sand dollar. Yay, sounds fun, Maya laughed. I'll have my mom text your mom. Woohoo, I'm so excited, Aubrey cheered. We'll pick you up after lunch. As Aubrey's mom's car pulled into the beach parking lot, the girls squealed in unison. We're here. Help me unpack the car and let's find a spot where I can keep an eye on you two, Aubrey's mom said playfully. Together, they set up the perfect spot. Come on, Maya, let's go, Aubrey shouted. As the girls played, Aubrey felt the hot sun against her face and the soft, warm sand beneath her toes. She listened to the gentle roll of the waves wash up against the shore. And in that moment, she thought about Grandma's story. Aubrey, come and help me with the sandcastle, Maya called. Just a minute, Aubrey called back. I want to take a few more pictures for our photo album. For the rest of the afternoon, Aubrey and Maya swam, built sandcastles, collected seashells, and captured their memories on Aubrey's tablet. Aubrey, Maya, please come here, Aubrey's mom called. Aubrey, honey, I just got off the phone with Grandma. Grandma has fallen and she's in the hospital. Is Grandma okay? Aubrey asked, her voice trembling. She will be, but we need to leave now, Aubrey's mom replied. Please help me pack up, girls. As they were packing up, Aubrey glanced one last time at the ocean. Could it be? She thought. I can't believe it, she exclaimed. Out of the corner of her eye, she spotted a sand dollar peeking out from under the sand. I have an idea. Aubrey and her mom dropped Maya off at her home and drove straight to the hospital. When they quietly entered Grandma's room, they saw Grandma laying in the hospital bed with her eyes closed. Is Grandma sleeping, Mama? Is she okay? She looks so pale, Aubrey whispered as she took Grandma's hand.
Tears rolled down Aubrey's cheeks as she looked at her grandma. Grandma, I don't know if you can hear me, Aubrey said, but today I was at the beach with my best friend Maya. I was thinking about you and the story you told me about your best friend Bee. Please wake up, Grandma. I made something for you. Please wake up so I can tell you a story. Aubrey rested her head on Grandma's shoulder and Grandma's eyes flickered open. Grandma, you're awake, Aubrey exclaimed, relieved. I have something to show you. Let's give Grandma a minute to wake up, Aubrey's mom said firmly as she helped Grandma to sit. How are you feeling, Mother? Aubrey's mom asked. I'm feeling much better now that you're both here, Grandma smiled. Aubrey tried to wait patiently as her mom and Grandma talked. Grandma, can I show you something yet? Aubrey finally interrupted. Sure, honey, what is it? Grandma smiled. Aubrey immediately handed Grandma her tablet and instructed, press play. Grandma's eyes widened as she watched her granddaughter and her best friend Maya play in the hot sun, build sand castles in the soft, warm sand, and listen to the gentle roll of the waves wash up against the shore. And she remembered. As the video came to an end, Grandma watched as Aubrey and Maya cradled the sand dollar in their hands. Grandma's eyes twinkled with tears. I feel as if I've been taken back in time to that magical day with my best friend Bee so many years ago, Grandma said. But before Grandma could say another word, Aubrey announced, I have another surprise for you, Grandma. Look. Grandma shifted her eyes from Aubrey back to the tablet and immediately recognized the woman she saw staring back at her and gasped, Bee Adler? Hi, Rose. It's so wonderful to see you. It's been too long, my friend, said Bee. It's wonderful to see you too, Bee. How are you? Grandma asked. Grandma and Bee talked and laughed until they were too tired to talk anymore. Before ending the call, Bee held something familiar in her hand for Grandma to see. Do you still have your sand dollar and 3 doves? Bee asked. Of course I do. We promised we would cherish them forever, replied Grandma. I didn't realize how much I've missed you, Bee. Grandma said goodbye to Bee and reached over and took Aubrey's hand. What a gift. How did you do all this? Grandma asked. Aubrey explained. When you told me the story about your best friend Bee, I wanted to find her so you could see her again. And when I found the sand dollar on the beach, it gave me the idea to share my photo album with you. Well, look at that, Grandma mused. Sometimes I look at you young people with all your technology and worry that it disconnects you from others. I had no idea how much technology can connect us too. Thank you, my sweet Aubrey, for sharing your story with me. I love our story. Is that okay to say?
It is okay to say. I love our story too, and I love Aubrey and Maya and Grandma.
Yes.
I know. Hopefully other people will grow to love them too.
I hope so too. I hope so too. So in addition to, again, I just, the illustrations, Jen, every time I am just, the story that those pictures tell. Sahar, another shout out to you. Your illustrations are just breathtaking. But in addition to the story that we've created, we've also included some additional pieces in the book that are really intentionally designed to help you use this book in your class. If you're a parent or a grandparent, to provide you with some ideas and suggestions about how to use this book at home or at school. So we have a page dedicated to different ways you can use this book. I'm going to brag about my daughter for a minute now. Yes. My daughter, Hallie, and this was Jen's idea, and I am so appreciative for this suggestion. We'd entertained putting in a nonfiction page in our fictional story as well to really draw in children who love nonfiction. And so Jen suggested that I ask my daughter, Hallie, to write a page all about sand dollars. And so that's exactly what my daughter did. And there's so many important messages in this story connected to digital literacy and digital citizenship and the time my daughter and I spent together, searching for information on the internet, evaluating it, synthesizing it, and crafting it in a way that also tells a story, was such valuable time spent with my daughter. So it was really wonderful. And there's an incredible page all about sand dollars for you nonfiction lovers, just to dive a little more deeply into sand dollars. Jen and I actually got quite an education about sand dollars writing this book. And to end our book, we provided 8 conversation starters, and we invite you to revisit various pages in the book to have some of those really important conversations about some of the digital citizenship lessons that are woven throughout this story.
Absolutely. And digital citizenship, digital leadership, digital literacy, these are all topics about which Leigh and I are very passionate, and we wanted to create a story that touched on those in a real and authentic way without undermining the power of technology to connect us. We do have more information. You can even meet Sahar by going to bit.ly/Aubrey Bright Stories and capitalizing the A, the B, and the S in stories. Do go and check it out. Our book can be found on Amazon. We're grateful to EduMatch Publishing for publishing it. And we are grateful to you for listening to our first ever virtual Read Aloud. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here.
Bye.
Bye-bye.